Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Football.
And welcome in to the Inside Arkansas Football post-game live reaction show presented by BetSaracen, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. I'm Curtis Wilkerson, joined by Andrew Ellis, here to break down, overanalyze, and most importantly, see how all you Razorback fans are feeling after a game. Arkansas's win 52-7 over Alabama A&M to open up the 2025 season here in Fayetteville. Andrew, my man, we have talked and previewed and projected. We finally have a sample size that we get to dig into. You were out there at Razorback Stadium today. It was a sort of a funky start, particularly defensively, but otherwise kind of the type of ho-hum opener you want to see against an SEC squad in week one. I hope, I guess. But the atmosphere, the product on the field, the aftermath, how are you feeling after what you saw today?
Well, anytime your team plays an opener, your immediate thought is to the big picture. Does this mean we suck? Does this mean we're overrated? Does this mean we're bad? Does this mean we're good? Does this mean we're going to win a title? You want to have that answer right after week one, and we don't have that for the Arkansas Razorbacks today. But like you said, we're here to guide the experience and help everyone contextualize and process this. But I did think it went about how it was supposed to go. We felt like this Razorback offense would be able to score at will, and the first team offense essentially did that. Taylen Green had to play maybe a little bit more than we thought, a little bit more than Sam Pitman probably wanted his QB1 to play. Definitely took more hits than he wanted his QB1 to take. We saw a few red flags there with the defense, but after the opening drive, they corrected some mistakes. They imposed their will against a Alabama A&M team that we expected them to do that against, and you need to be able to do that against. The passing attack was kind of the thing that stole the show here for the Arkansas offense. Omega Blake was really good, and these are things, again, with a senior quarterback, year two with your coordinator, a lot of experience, especially on that left side of the offense. At wide receiver, you got some experience at quarterback, experience at running back. This offense probably should have been firing on all cylinders, so all good. I don't really have too many complaints about the passing attack specifically. There are some things that we can nitpick. We're going to do that, but at the end of the day, I'm going to enjoy this win. 24-hour rule. We'll hit the game film on Monday, but I'm pleased with the overall result. Would have liked to see a cover there, but I'm not going to yell too much about it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Arkansas is 1-0, and they're ahead in the SEC standings of both Alabama and Texas. So today was a good day. I think we can agree. Now, let's start. Okay, I'm going to ask you a big picture question here, and then we can dive into the specifics. But we kept getting asked all week, Andrew, if there is anything that could happen in this game that would make us feel better about this football team in the season, whatever. Well, the game has happened. Did anything happen that makes you feel differently about the way you answered that earlier in the week?
No, and specifically, I definitely didn't see anything that made me feel way better about the Arkansas Razorbacks. There were a lot of things that were good from this performance. There's a lot of things that Arkansas can build on for sure, and a lot of those things that went well, we expected them to go well. Some of the things that we felt like were a red flag maybe looked a little bit like a red flag, although I felt like Alabama A&M just wasn't really good enough to exploit some of those issues, and it wasn't anything crazy. It's not like we're going to come away from this particular game saying, oh, man, this D-line is the worst in program history. But I think we saw a little bit in this game that could lend itself to issues down the line. I think in the secondary, especially on that opening drive, not what you want to see out there on the perimeter. But ultimately, this was a game that big picture things like that were not going to show up in game one against this particular opponent.
Yeah, yep, I would agree with that for sure. So let's dive into the nuts and bolts here. Let's actually start with our BetSaracen stars of the game. And I think that I can speak for both of us, but you might have a different opinion here. That there are a few good options, actually. I got to go with Taylen Green. And I know he was going to be a topic of conversation for better or for worse going into this post-game show here. But, folks can nitpick whatever they want about a throw here, took a bad sack there, whatever. But at the end of the day, Taylen Green completes 24 of 31 passes, throws for 322 yards, career high 6 touchdowns to 5 different pass catchers, by the way, and he did not turn the football over. That's exactly what you wanted to see. It's what you hoped to see. It's what you needed to see against a team like Alabama A&M. I don't know that you could have asked for a whole lot more from Taylen Green. My only complaint, he was awesome. My only complaint is that my man took too many hits for a game like this. Like, it's football. I know that you're going to get tackled, but especially after halftime, every time he got popped, I winced. I'm like, hey, let's put my guy in bubble wrap for the rest of the day. All right. You can't afford to get him hurt. But overall, I thought he was tremendous. I thought he looked good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Taylen Green, by the way, his first rush attempt where he got outside the pocket, scrambled for a first down, he got out of bounds and he went out of his way. He was kind of in the middle of the field and went out of his way to get out of bounds. You could tell it crossed his mind of, hey, I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to be safe. Once you got into the rhythm of the game and he was just playing football, that went out of the window. His next time running the ball, ran right into traffic, took on that extra hit, didn't shy away from contact, which, I love the mentality. Don't love the method. Don't love the practice against Alabama A&M. Scrambled for that one first down, which I didn't think he got, but he reached the arm out there. That was crazy as well. But you're 100% right. He looked very much in control. I'll say it again. He looked like a senior quarterback in year 2 of this offense with a ton of experience under his belt, entering year 4 as a starter at the Division I level. That's how he should look against an inferior opponent. And so 7 incompletions, 6 touchdowns. You're not going to hear me nitpick too much. We could sit here throw by throw and, point out some flaws here and there. And like Bobby Petrino always says, it's every now and then it's mechanical. Taylen can get flustered and, kind of get weird with his mechanics. But like for the most part, I felt like he handled pressure pretty well. There wasn't a ton of it coming his way. He spread the ball around. My star of the game, though, Curtis, if I'm allowed to, is this how this works? Do I get to get
Absolutely.
I've got to go to Omega Blake. One thing that we heard a lot last year was that Taylen Green had tunnel vision towards Andrew Armstrong, that sometimes he didn't look at some of those other guys like a Satania, like an Isaac Tasla, and maybe that's why he kind of force-fed Andrew Armstrong. I texted y'all in the first half. I was like, so now is it just going to be he has tunnel vision with Omega Blake? Omega Blake finishes with 7 receptions, 111 yards. Almost all of that came in the first half. He had a touchdown called back as well. I thought he looked awesome. And at wide receiver is kind of a position group this offseason that there's a lot to replace. Not that Arkansas had this lights-out, world-beating receiver core last year, but you just didn't bring back any of them. So it was not like a question mark of we're concerned, but we just didn't know. We haven't seen this group. I think you very much know who your 1A, your number 1 guy is. It's Omega Blake. He's the most proven of the bunch, has that big play threat, has an NFL receiver type of body. I really liked what I saw from him. Good to see C.J. Brown make a couple grabs, get in the end zone a couple times. But Omega Blake was the one guy that I came away from this game on the Arkansas side of the ball that I said, hey, that's a guy who looks like he can be a difference maker in the SEC. Not that these other guys can't, but with Omega Blake, like I see that in the way he looked out there today. I'm like, I could see that guy catching touchdowns against Auburn, catching touchdowns against Tennessee, getting open against SEC corners, and he's done it a little bit in his career back in South Carolina. Not to say that I don't feel that way about these other guys. They will have their chance to prove that. But Omega Blake, I came away really impressed with the way he looked today.
Yeah, me too. That was fun to see. 7 receptions, 121 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets for Omega Blake in this game. And man, he has one more game like that, and he pretty much is pretty close to equaling or surpassing what he did his tenure at South Carolina. Yeah. So you love to see it, man. That's good stuff. And I was wondering what it would look like because he was such a big play type of threat at Charlotte. He led the country or whatever with 24 yards per reception. And so you're wondering, is he just going to be a boom or bust guy? Is he going to be able to get open? Is he going to be able to do the other things that make you a number 1 type of receiver in the SEC? It was Alabama A&M. We get it. But the other returns look good, and he looked good doing it. There are teams or there are certain players or whatever who can put up big stats in a game like this, and you can still look at him and go, yeah, but I'm not doing any yeah-buts with Omega Blake, man. I thought he looked the part. He's a big physical dude, man. And maybe it's just relative to his peers because this is a small wide receiver room that Arkansas has. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I thought he looked the part. You mentioned C.J. Brown. I want to talk about that for just a second because that was really cool. Gets 2 touchdown receptions in this game. He had 4 for 49, was targeted 6 times. And, he was doing the special thing on the back of his jersey there, honoring his late father. And I just know that meant a lot to him, man. So for him to get the first touchdown of the season for the Razorbacks and then to just capitalize the entire game and kind of establish himself as a guy who started in this football game and a guy that they've talked a lot about in terms of his knowledge of the offense. And, year 2, we really feel good about the strides that he makes. He knows it better than anybody else. And he was one of the guys that you pointed out in the pregame of everything sounds good in theory, but we still need to see it. We need to see it. We haven't seen it yet. What do you have? 7 receptions for 62 yards or something all of last season. He almost, did that in his first game here for the Razorbacks this year. I'm just really happy for him, man. I thought that was cool. It was a good moment, something that he's going to be able to remember and will put, just a little bit of a, some positivity, some happiness, and an otherwise, probably a pretty difficult time for him personally. So I'm pumped for him, man.
Yeah, I think we've all gone through that in life where you look back at a moment in your life and you say, oh man, that was actually a really awesome moment. Like, it's time for me. I didn't realize that. I think CJ Brown is going to look back at this time period. I mean, literally 7 days ago, the entire team's at his father's funeral. Now here he is catching his first and second career touchdown passes. Huge moment in his career and his life. And I think that right now, I'm sure he probably wasn't in the headspace to where he was super worried about that, coming into this week. But I think it's awesome to see him have that moment. And, I'm sure the team was super fired up for him as well. I mean, that's their guy, local Bentonville product as well. That's really awesome. And, I think him and Jaylen Brown, from a football standpoint, those are the two guys that I feel like, not that they have to be awesome, that they have to be world beaters, but I say this a lot. If you can guarantee me that those guys are solid, I feel very different about this Razorback offense. I don't think they're going to pass it around the way they did today and just have every play work. But if you have some of these, Jaylen Brown, CJ Brown, Raylan Sharp made a couple nice plays today. He brings some stability as well. But I think Arkansas needs as many of those guys to show that big play ability. And I mean, the early returns on this passing attack, very good. Like, it did not look like a unit that was working in a ton of new targets. Now, again, it's Alabama A&M. CJ Brown has made some plays in the bowl game, made some plays in this game. Now you got to go out there and do it against Ole Miss, do it against Notre Dame. That's kind of the next step for them. But I thought it was really important in this particular game to establish some confidence with those other receiving targets. Omega Blake is a guy that we've all just kind of assumed is going to be pretty good. And now I feel great about that assumption. But those other guys that are unproven, I thought this was a huge moment for them. Whereas Sharp and Omega Blake, we kind of know what we're getting. And those guys have played a lot of football at this level. I thought it was really important for those two younger guys, the two Browns, to get in there and get some work.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Folks, continue to get your chats in there, and we'll get to them here shortly. Want to ask you a couple other questions, though, Andrew, before we get into that. First impressions of this offensive line, because we've heard a lot about it, the improvement that we hope that they made, but it's another. You're just kind of in wait and see mode with all these things that you hear with this Razorback football program at this point. But with the whole time we've been feel pretty solid about the left side with Corey Robinson and Carmona. Kittler seems like he's steady over there. How's it all going to shake out on the right side? You're going to have some new bodies. They're probably going to be trying to rotate guys in and out a little bit, which they did today, actually, credit to them. But we just didn't know. I will say there was a little bit too much pressure for my liking. They definitely got some things they have to clean up. But some of that, Alabama A&M was bringing a lot of heat. They were bringing a lot of blitzes. Sometimes it was on the backs for not picking up. Sometimes there were some miscommunication issues. They didn't exactly gash it on the ground. I guess I'm a little bit mixed on it. I'm going to be anxious to see what this looks like as they continue to level up. It's going to be a bigger challenge for them next week than they face this week. And then obviously you need to clean some things up and still, I think, figure some things out a little bit up front there before you get into SEC play, the Ole Misses, the Notre Dames of the world here pretty soon. Yeah,
Curtis, I thought they were fine. And I say that, I don't say that as a slight. I don't say that to be positive. That is just my assessment. I think they were fine. I'm not going to come away from this performance and be like, holy cow, guys, red alert. We got a huge issue on the O-line, but I'm also not super sold that this unit took this massive step forward. One of the things that we talked about a lot this offseason was the pass protection was the thing that we just knew, especially on that right side, needed to improve. You go out and get a guy like Corey Robinson. You move Carmona inside. You have a veteran and Kittler come in. And now you have a Marion Harris, who's a veteran out on the right tackle. That's probably a more natural spot from him. All those things lend itself to Arkansas is probably going to be better protecting the quarterback. And I'm with you that maybe too much pressure for my liking, but I thought overall, considering how much Arkansas threw the ball, it wasn't a thing that got in their way. Like there wasn't certain times where I'm like, holy cow, it's 3rd and 11. Are they going to be able to protect Taylen? Like it was fine for the most part. One of the 2 sacks they allowed was very much on Braylon Russell, who is not going to get a good grade from PFF tomorrow. Rushing, receiving, run blocking, all of the above. It's going to be bad, or pass blocking, I should say. The thing that really stuck out to me, Curtis, though, when I talk about the O-line, they finished with, 189 yards on the ground. Do I have my numbers here right? 194 yards on the ground, 4.9 yards a carry. You had a couple sacks in there. You had a snap that got away from Trevor Jackson. All in all, they averaged about 5 yards a carry. Not a bad day on the ground, Curtis, but this is not the type of offense that is going to be able to just really control games on the ground. They didn't try to do it a ton in this particular matchup. They threw the ball a lot. I mean, pass attempts wise, when the first team offense was out there, it was like 70% pass plays there. They threw the ball a lot. I think that was kind of surprising to me that they didn't impose their will a little bit more on this Alabama A&M front. Maybe this is just a matchup thing and they kind of wanted to exploit their matchups other ways. Perfectly fine for me, but I think that was maybe the surprising thing is that they weren't able to just turn around and get 6-7 yards every carry at will against an Alabama A&M team like this. And when I think about the best version of this Razorback offense, it's probably going to need a pretty dependable run game. I'm not 100% sure they have that, and I don't know if I was coming in, but I would lean towards I'm a little bit disappointed in their ability to get a consistent push in the run game offensively.
Yeah, and it's kind of backwards from what I expected it to be. And again, one game sample size, but it's one more game than we had to go off of there, because that's the one thing that I feel like I felt super confident in was between Taylen Green and everything we've heard about Mike Washington and just knowing, say what you want about Braylon Russell. He's a hoss. He's not an easy guy to take down there. I kind of thought that 3-prong thing would be really, really potent. And maybe it winds up being that way. They're still getting their chemistry. They're still trying to gel, whatever. A lot of time for this football team to improve. But the fact that it was the passing attack that was so in sync when it's Taylen Green and all new weapons out there that he's throwing it to, and he was spreading it out. How many 10 different receivers caught a pass today? And a lot of those came from Taylen Green. So that kind of surprised me a little bit. Are you surprised? And I don't think you are. And I know we're going to talk about this on the accountability session a little bit later. But Braylon Russell's the leading carrier. He gets 11 carries for the Razorbacks. He had 9 for Mike Washington. Did he even play at all in the third quarter? I don't know if I saw him in the third quarter. Maybe
Washington played towards the end when he played with KJ Jackson, because that's when he caught that touchdown, busted off a 30-yard run. It was towards the end of that third quarter, but you're right. They spent a big portion of the game trying to get Braylon Russell going, trying to get him involved. And I don't know if I would say it didn't work, but it definitely didn't lend itself. It didn't yield unbelievable results. So I've seen a lot of people, Curtis, that have been like, man, really disappointed with Mike Washington. And I'm not saying like the guy was like electric out there or anything. I think people are confusing him with Braylon Russell, because Braylon Russell got the majority of the carries today, which I kind of alluded to this in the pregame. And I think Braylon Russell was the one who struggled to get things going. Every time Mike Washington touched the football, he was fine, getting 5-6 yards a carry, had that one explosive run. I think people thought he was Braylon Russell and were like, oh man, this huge running back sucks.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if you look at Mike Washington's final stats, I mean, you see 9 attempts for 79 yards, and then he had the 2 receptions for 26, and he had a touchdown there. But it's like, oh wow, 8.8 yards per carry. Why is everybody complaining? But he did pop off that real big run there that kind of padded that, I guess you could say. But it was funny because I know that one of the things you said is you kind of felt like Braylon Russell might outrush Mike Washington in this game, and they were both kind of right in that same ballpark of carries, and then in the 40-ish yard range for the longest there until it was Mike Washington against the scrubs there late in the game. So yeah, it was a little bit interesting. It's tough too because it's just everything. I almost feel like I'm jaded by everything we heard about Mike Washington throughout the spring and in fall camp. Because it's like 91-yard touchdown run against these huge plays against your defense. Man, he looks great. Oh, he won this many points in the summer workout competitions that they were doing. You heard all that. And so I'm expecting this dude's going to come out. He's going to be one of those guys when he touches the ball, you're going to feel the electricity. You're going to see it, even if he's not getting these big plays where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this guy is for real. And this is not a knock on him at all, because I think he's going to be just fine as a running back for the Razorbacks. But I didn't get that vibe, and it almost makes me feel bad, as if it's like, well, was there a little bit of overhype here? We don't know just yet, but I was hoping to see a little bit more. He had that one, I think it was in the first quarter, where he broke free, and it looked like it was going to be a pretty long touchdown run. He just got shoestringed. He kind of gathered, and then he tripped over his own feet, and I was like, damn it, that could have been the moment right there for him.
For sure. And that's where it's like you saw a little bit of that. It's not like he just got completely clamped and wasn't making big plays, but you're 100% right in that. I thought back to that when I was walking back to my car, Curtis. I literally thought about this. I said, so if Mike Washington was rattling off all these huge runs, and some of that was against the second team defense, perfectly fine. And then your offense in this game was not routinely getting lanes that would yield big runs. Like, I just didn't see those opportunities, which, by the way, as a running back, that's kind of what you need, is opportunities to get some space and have those big runs. And we saw him trip on that one, but we saw him have kind of that capability. There wasn't like a ton of daylight there. And I think, again, that's kind of the big issue I have, especially because, and this is why it comes back to the D-line, you were allegedly creating these huge gaping holes and having these explosive plays in the run game in scrimmages. And now I'm really kind of at a point, especially coming off of a performance where Arkansas goes 3 quarters and doesn't get a sack, doesn't have a tackle for loss. They had 1 tackle for loss in 3 quarters, and it was Cam Ball. They only had the 1 turnover, which came in the 4th quarter with the 3s or the 2s. Not a ton that this Arkansas defense does, first or second string, that really puts its opponent behind the 8 ball. And so now I kind of, if I'm thinking about the Mike Washington and how he looked today, and it's not that, I think he looked fine. I'm more worried about the defense and worried about the offensive line, knowing everything that we know now.
Yeah, let's talk about that defense for a few minutes here, and then we'll definitely get to the chats.
We
and
have been avoiding them. Let's be honest. We have been avoiding the defense.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's why we don't want to have people doing they're downers or whatever. Hey, the offense did some really good things today, man. And I'm excited about what this could be with the defense. Now you look up at the end of the day, and let me just roll back up the stats here. And, Arkansas gives up 235 yards of total offense and 7 points. And it came on, the points came on the first drive. So if you look at it for the full game, and if you just didn't watch and you looked at the box score, you go, yeah, that's probably about what it should have been against an FCS opponent. Not bad. Solid day at the office. And after a while, it pretty much was. Are we going to chalk up the early struggles defensively? And like the first drive for Alabama A&M, it was emphatic. They shoved it down Arkansas's throat, and they were well on their way to doing that. A couple other drives, it was Alabama A&M getting in their own way with yes. some very costly penalties that kind of bailed Arkansas out there. And then they settled in, and they were mostly fine the rest of the game. Are we going to chalk up those early struggles or issues defensively to just some jitters, some first game kinks, or do we see some foreshadowing to some potential problems here down the road?
Well, the one thing that really jumped out when you just watch those first couple drives, Arkansas's corners play very far off the ball. Mm-hmm. And that is not a coincidence. It's because, one, they don't know if they're going to get a pass rush. So if you're up at the line pressing and all of a sudden the guy gets behind you, it's like that pass rush not being there could put you in trouble. But I think Arkansas doesn't trust their 2 starting corners in Kenai Walker, who started at Oklahoma, and Julian Neal, who kind of was a surprise that got thrown into the first team of the depth chart. We thought it might be Singletary there. Singletary played a good bit in this game. All 3 of those guys had, Kenai Walker, I'll have to go back and see. I don't know if I saw him getting burned a ton, but Julian Neal certainly got picked on there at corner a little bit. And you saw a little bit why Arkansas doesn't trust those corners. One thing that I've loved about T-Will, and really the premise of T-Will and really any defensive coordinator, is you want to threaten teams with what you can threaten them with and hide your weaknesses. Have that poker face of, hey, we've got this guy in the secondary that's really suspect. Okay, well, then we're going to have a guy over there kind of clouding it. We're going to bring pressure from this side. T-Will has seemed to find the ways to do that sometimes. Like in that Tennessee game, Arkansas had all these weaknesses, but you just didn't see them. They kind of hid them through things at Tennessee that threw them off. And credit to him and the staff, because they made some adjustments. They saw Alabama and A&M exploiting some of their weaknesses. They got it cleaned up, and they figured it out. They made adjustments. That's what you got to do at this level, so kudos to them for that. But make no mistake, this defense has weaknesses that Travis Williams is going to lose sleep every week this year trying to hide the fact that, hey, it's 3rd and 9, and we don't think we're going to get home with our pass rush. So what does that mean for us on the back end? How do we go about this on the back end? Arkansas tried some things. They would bring in – it was 3 plays into the game on defense. Arkansas went to a 3 linebacker look. They went to a 4-3 kind of switch up. They took a nickel off the field sometimes. They would take Jordan Young, who I actually thought played pretty well. They would take him off the field and bring in a 3rd linebacker just to kind of clog up some holes there in the middle. And so that helped them stop the run. They didn't really allow Alabama A&M to get much going in the run game until late in the second half. They broke off a couple ones. But I think man-to-man coverage, which is something we heard that they wanted to do, it is not something they are going to routinely be able to do. I thought the safeties were fine. I thought the linebackers were fine. The pass rush definitely needs improvement. Outside on the perimeter, guarding one-on-one, going to be an issue.
Yeah, the sense that I got was, I wonder, just with the situation at Alabama A&M, because brand new coaching staff, a bunch of new players, and they were at that Division II school. I wonder how much of the early stuff was they weren't really sure what they were going to see, so they were really kind of feeling things out. And then maybe once Travis Williams got a vibe for what was going on there, like you said, they exploited some weaknesses, they saw some things, they found some holes, and then it was like, oh, okay, yeah, now we know how to tackle this, because I do feel like they tightened up pretty well the rest of the way. And I'm pleased with it. Again, you gave up 235 yards and 7 points, whatever. The last 3 quarters, they weren't really getting much going on at all. I think that quarterback started like 9 of 12, and then he might have had 7 incompletions or something in a row to finish it. And they brought another guy in. So all was well there for the most part. There weren't the huge, coverage busts or whatever, where guys are streaking wide open down the field. And so that was nice. So I do think they figured some things out there. But I don't feel better or worse about the situation at this point than I did going into the game, because the areas where I was concerned, I need to see it to believe it with the corners, for example, like you were saying, being able to play a bunch of man-to-man coverage. If you struggle with it a little bit against a team like Alabama A&M, we know what's coming down the road. So jury's still out there. The defensive line, the pass rush, they got some things going a little bit later, but what'd you say? Like 1 tackle for loss in 3 quarters or something almost, you know what I mean? Wasn't a lot going on there. I'll credit, and we were talking about this before we went on the show here, I thought Phillip Lee was in the backfield a pretty good amount there for Arkansas. I think it was Danny Saili who forced that fumble that Shakir Smalls wound up getting with a sack there. Quincy Rhodes wound up getting a sack, right?
He did.
A little bit later. He was the one.
It was like a 3rd and 12. It was one of the first like real obvious passing downs Arkansas was able to force them into, and he came through with that first sack. I think it was like right before the 3rd quarter ended or early 4th.
Yeah. And so like if it would have been an absolute total domination up front where they're just blowing those guys off the line the entire time and, racking up double-digit TFLs and they had 6 sacks or something, I probably still wouldn't have changed my mind too much moving forward because of the disparity in talent and size and athleticism and all that. But you didn't even get that. And so I'm kind of still iffy here with this defense. But again, it's one game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, from a personnel standpoint and from a, just how good is this group, I am very much not sold. This particular performance, I'm not going to write home about it. I'm not going to complain. But I'm with you where I'm just like, my needle hasn't moved too much. We like to use the needle talk a lot. I haven't changed too much. I still have the concerns I have in some areas. One guy that I do want to talk about, I'll talk about him more on our player grades, which are going to be out tomorrow. Quick plug. Bradley Shaw is a guy that is going to play a way bigger role on this defense than I think I realized, or maybe any of us did, because we knew how good those top 2 linebackers are. I think Bradley Shaw might be a solution, or like, I don't know if solution's a stretch, but he's going to be a guy that they will try to use in unique ways to maybe counteract some of this stuff. And so we'll see there, and we'll rant about him more. But do you have any interest in hearing what Sam Pitman had to say in regards to the defense's slow start?
Yes.
Well, let's take a listen from the head hog.
Well, it's one game. I was more concerned about the missed assignments, that we were having. That wasn't necessarily the case in the scrimmages, you know what I mean? So I think if we don't miss the assignments, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape, but we did. And so therefore we got in trouble on that first drive. Was nasty. It was terrible. And, but after that, for the most part, they came back, but we'll address that and go exactly why they went down the field and scored on us. But in my mind right now, it's about mental errors.
There you go.
That's interesting. I'll have to go back again. None of us have watched. We have sat there and watched the all 22. Neither has Sam Pittman, by the way. One of the biggest plays of that first drive, I remember, was just a straight up outside receiver runs across the formation, beats Julian Neal 1-on-1, has a gain of 20 or something like that. I would have to look. I know there was a tight end that got loose at one point. Maybe that was a missed assignment that Sam was referring to.
And that was the play that got washed because of the block in the back and then something else with the penalties there. But yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, sure. I liked how he was like, yeah, it's just one game.
Right. Which is interesting because that's exactly what we're saying here, because I think some people are getting pissed off in the chat and they're doing the thing where they're like, oh, you guys are overacting one game. Why would a recruit want to come to Arkansas because you're asking about the defense after game 1? Sam Pittman's doing the same thing, man. We're looking at this game for what it is, which was a tune-up for Arkansas before things start to get progressively more and more real as we move forward here. Talked about all the really good things that they did. Talked about Taylen Green and how terrific he looked in a lot of ways. The receivers that we were impressed with. But some of those areas where maybe we weren't blown away in terms of, okay, well, let's keep an eye on that going into Arkansas State and see if they make some adjustments and see if some things improve. That includes the rushing attack. That includes some stuff on the defensive line. That includes some of those things that you saw throughout the course of the first quarter defensively. So everybody who's freaking out about this whole, no, it's just we're evaluating one football game that Arkansas won very handedly and identifying some areas for better or for worse that we're looking forward to seeing how it shapes up the rest of the season. This is not rocket science here.
Yeah, I always say you can have answers to the questions, but the questions are still there. And so now it's up to Arkansas to find those answers. The answer to the question may simply be, hey, Kenai Walker's a fifth-year senior. He's going to be solid on that one corner spot. A guy in Selman Bridges who didn't play today was suspiciously, I don't know if he was hurt. Maybe I'll have to go back. Maybe he got in the fourth quarter. He did not play in the first 2.5 quarters for sure. So, maybe it's something like that. Maybe Keyshawn Davila. Maybe they like what they saw from him. You can find answers, or maybe Julian Neal just steps up and is kind of that guy. Maybe you move Jordan Young outside. I don't know. You can have answers, but there is a question mark at the cornerback spot. And there's definitely that question with the defensive line. And hell, we had that question about receivers. Not to say it's answered completely, but we're starting to get some inkling of some answers of, hey, C.J. Brown might be competent. Hey, Jalen Brown's pretty fast. He's with the ones. Monte Harrison caught a pass. By the way, did anyone see that? Monte Harrison caught a pass.
He did.
Oh, by the way, I told Hillary when he caught that pass, I was like, hey, that guy used to play in the MLB. And she just did not believe me. She was like, nah. I'm like, dude, that dude's 30 years old, I swear. But no, I also think, to your point, Curtis, it's not like you have to necessarily have it figured out right now. We can question whether or not you will have it figured out in week 3, but you have another week against Arkansas State, which with some of these guys, especially on the D line up front, some of these guys that have not played a ton of football, it actually is not that hard for me to believe they will improve with some reps and improve with the game experience. We always see that light bulb go off for some of these guys. You never know when it's going to be for some of these guys, but no doubt about it, Arkansas needs that to happen with some of their guys at some of these key spots, and they also need to stay healthy. That's the one thing that jumped out at me today is after that first group on offense and defense, nah.
Right. I'm going to pull this up right now from Zach. He said running back pass blocking wasn't good. O-line was really good. Difficult to listen to Curtis sometimes. Zach, maybe you should try listening to Curtis sometimes, because when we were talking about the offensive line, the first thing I did was say, yeah, some of that wasn't on them because it was missed assignments from the running backs. So maybe you should put your listening ears on a little bit, and then we'd be off to a better start here, wouldn't we?
Yeah, it's kind of stunning. That's literally what we said.
Exactly what was said. I mean, it's unbelievable to me. Some other stats that stood out to me that I wanted to point out real quick, and then we'll move on to the chat. Only 3 penalties for Arkansas. Good.
Sure, yeah. Love that.
I like that. I feel great about it. They went 9 of their first 11 third downs converted. Very good. You love to see that. 7 touchdowns in this game, all passing.
How about that?
That is what surprised me. Not a single rushing touchdown in this game. No big deal, whatever. I'm just surprised by that.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, Taylen Green threw 15 touchdowns last season. He is, 6. Is that 40% of the way there?
Yeah, sheesh.
40% of the way to his season total. And by the way, before that, his career high was like 12 or 13 or 14. So it's like 6 touchdowns in one game is not something that Taylen Green, that is notable. But again, does it really mean anything? I don't know, but I thought that was cool.
Yeah, no, I thought that was awesome for sure. Folks, we'll get to your chats here in just a second, but first we got to give a shout out to our new sponsors here on the Inside Arkansas post-game reaction show, our friends over at OZK Insurance. Nobody wants to deal with the hassle of shopping around, and that's why I use and recommend OZK Insurance. They're based right here in Arkansas, and they shop multiple carriers to find the best coverage and price for you, whether it's home, auto, business, you name it. Whether it's Saturdays at Razorback Stadium or everyday life, you want protection that you can count on. So count on OZK Insurance and get a free online quote at ozkinsurance.com or call 479-715-4200. OZK Insurance, protection made simple. We're also brought to you today by our friends over at Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. Football's officially here. Fall's it's a little bit early in the air, and the holiday season, Halloween, it's right around the corner. Many of you like the idea of getting into the holiday spirit, but you don't have the time or the resources to light up your house and wow the neighborhood. Well, that's why Walter Christmas Lighting is here, and they've got you covered. If you live in Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley, you got to hit them up. They provide all the materials, any color, any pattern. They install the lights, free maintenance throughout the holiday season. They'll come out and do all the takedowns for you in January. If you sign up for Halloween lights, you will also get your Christmas lights for 50% off. So just text our guy, Brett, for a free estimate today at 479-459-3900. 1380. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com. Like them on Facebook by scanning the QR code on your screen. Okay. Voila. Let's get into the chats. I'm sure it's going to be some bangers in here. Intern Cameron's been working hard back there.
Yeah, he's been
behind the scenes. Yeah, he's been getting after it. I like this right away. From Hog Hustle 479, he says, Omega is a beast. Yeah, I've been looking forward to. He's one that I've been really looking forward to seeing. Saw him. I'm buying the hype.
Yeah, Curtis, you know what I was thinking about during the game? You know, one of the things that we coming out of spring, we didn't hear Omega Blake's name a lot. We heard a lot of things about Mike Washington being crazy and being a beast. Did not hear anybody say, oh, wow, Omega Blake. After one viewing of Omega Blake, I would say, oh, wow, Omega Blake. Like, he's a guy that stood out for sure.
Yes, he was. Let's see. We've got some takeaways here from Hickory Hog 94. He says, Omega Blake good. Agreed. O-line didn't F up. Mike Washington didn't explode. D-line left some to be desired, to say the least. And star of the game, Scott Starzyk. I'm so glad that you dropped
Scott Starzyk.
We have disrespected Scott Starzyk by not bringing him up to this point. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I mean, listen, one, I want to give us a pat on the back because we've been saying that if you're a really good kicker at the collegiate level, you typically are good as a freshman. You think about some of the best kickers in Razorback history, like a Connor Limpert, good as a freshman. Zach Hocker, good as a freshman. Cam Little, good as a freshman. Is Scott Starzyk going to be as good as any of those guys? I don't know, but he is a guy that got a ton of buzz, won the job without a competition as a freshman. So there was at least an inkling that this guy might be one of those 3-4 year, no doubt about it, kickers. First attempt, Arkansas's at the 35-yard line. And by the way, that was like the one Taylen mistake that I hated. And the O-line, of course, allowed the sack. Taylen taking that sack, which took Arkansas from like the 23 to the 35, made me want to pull my hair out. It really did. Yeah. Didn't matter for Scott Starzyk. Maybe that's why Taylen took the sack. He's like, I can afford to fish here, and Scott Starzyk's going to kick it. John said it would have been good from 60. First career attempt. I know it's not a high-stakes situation. Wasn't like this, game winner against Texas. For him to show up 53 yards, like, hey, you got to have it right here. They've been putting some pressure on him in these scrimmages to make those kicks. Made it look easy. Only attempt he had all day. A-plus debut from Scott Starzyk, in my opinion.
Yeah, amen. Love to see that. I'm a little bit surprised that they went to him for 53 for his first one. We talked a little bit, about like, oh, maybe they'll ease him into it. Nah, throw him right into the fire. The Cam Little 2.0 legend is it's begun.
I'm sure someone in the chat is going to ask us this, so I apologize to whoever's chat we are no longer going to bring up, because I do want to talk about special teams for just a quick second.
Yeah.
Scott Starzyk, we give him a very good grade. Devin Bale was fine today. I think he had 2 punts, a 42 and a 40. One of them was inside the 20. One of them was at the 20. Cool. Like, I'm okay with that day. Arkansas covered kicks very well. Had a couple times where they made a tackle inside the 20. Cam Shanks, though, who we thought might be the special teams MVP, he was the only shaky part of Arkansas special teams, which I thought otherwise had an unbelievable day.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He didn't necessarily look like a guy who was, an All-American punt returner last year. And it has nothing to do with the, like the wiggle or, the potential explosiveness back there. But just some of the awareness things, like the one where the guy was right on top of him, didn't fair catch it and just got popped right away. Another where he had a little bit of a seam, ran straight into a guy. Just, I don't know. It seemed a little bit off there. Now we know that he missed a pretty healthy amount of fall camp. Now this is something that he's done before. Like it's not necessarily new to him, but I wonder if that impacted things at all, or maybe he's like, all right, it's my first game in the SEC. So I'm really going to try to make something happen here or whatever. But like one of my bold predictions that he was going to house one, he had a lot of opportunities and didn't even come close.
Embrace debate. Was Devin Bale's squib that went directly off the guy that was recovered? Well, I've never seen that. That's something we talk about. Like, you and your buddies in your 4th grade class are like, why don't you just kick it right at the first guy and then get it? Arkansas did it. Did he do it on purpose? Because, Curtis, I've watched it back 3 times. I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either.
And the fact that Arkansas kneeled right afterwards, meaning they got the ball back and chose not to run off.
They weren't ready for another play. Yes.
Makes me think that it was not on purpose, but that was the coolest thing. That might be like my best of the week.
That was pretty awesome. And he was fired up about it too. He
recovered it too.
Really fired
Devin
up.
Bale, as we've learned recently, is a psycho.
Oh man. All right, let's get to we got a few super chats here, folks, from Garrett McCollum, our man. HD shout out. He says, take out the Alabama part or the A&M part, and it's a monumental win for the program. Perspective.
Is it? You mean a winless Alabama squad? Is that even impressive to beat them? They just lost to a 2-10 team. I don't know if that's a signature win anymore without Saban.
Last place Bama, you know? I don't know. Is it any different than beating Mississippi State?
Well, Mississippi State's undefeated and looked
they want to know this year. Yeah, exactly right.
Man, Mississippi State's better against the spread than Arkansas.
Woo. I got it at 44, by the way.
Yeah, well, that is credit to Vegas and credit to BetSaracen because the line moved like crazy, and that happens when people are betting. It started below 40 and finished at damn near 50. It was 48 at kickoff on Saracen.
Woo. Man, Chris Sullivan, we appreciate you. He says, I feel worse. Just saying. There's still just a lot of, and you're fine to feel that way, like mixed reactions I'm noticing in here. Like some people are pretty excited. I mean, you won 52-7. Like you kind of feel weird if you're upset about it or whatever. There are a lot of people that are like, oh, we suck again because of the first defensive drive or, whatever's going on there. I think there's still a fair amount of people though that are kind of in that same ballpark as us we didn't know how much we were really going to learn from this game, and we're going to evaluate it and think about it. And yeah, it kind of went according to plan in terms of there are some things that we're certainly really excited about, and there's some things that we're certainly unsure about as it comes to this football team.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about Chris specifically because I'm pretty good at like knowing what our chatters feel. Like, Heartbroken Hog, for example, I can tell you off the top of my head, he picked Arkansas to go 7-5. I know exactly how he feels about this team. So I kind of know if he says something, I'm like, oh, now that's a change or whatever. I don't remember how Chris felt. Perhaps he thought they were going to be like 9-3.
Maybe.
Because that's another thing is like, and matter of fact, tell us in the chat. Let me know if you changed your win-loss record up or down. Let us know in the chat because I just am curious and would like to know for research purposes.
There you go. He did follow up with this. Yeah, Chris did follow up with this a little bit later, and we appreciate you. He says, I feel better after listening to you guys talk through things. We appreciate you listening. He says, makes sense when y'all explain it. Yeah, I mean, listen, nothing's going to go. I almost feel like there were some unrealistic expectations in certain ways. It's kind of like when we were talking about with Mike Washington, like you just hear all this hype and all this greatness and you think, all right, he's getting compared to Niall Davis by the offensive coordinator. And so you have a certain bar that's set there, and he could be just fine in a game, which is how he was today, and maybe not meet that expectation. So then you do the thing where you're like, wait, am I disappointed in what I just saw? And I think last year's opener maybe gave some people a little bit of unrealistic expectations because you scored on every single drive, you win 70-0. UAPB couldn't get a single thing going on offense, and you shortened the quarters in the second half because it was such a beatdown that it wasn't even fair or worth playing. And then so you look at this and it's like, well, it took them a little bit to get going. It was 10-7 late in the first quarter. And yeah, there's some things that we're wondering about. It's just kind of that way for football teams in first games. You know what I mean?
By the way, we just got an updated word from Chris who said he was feeling 9-3 and is now in the 7-5, 6-6. So I got to be honest, this makes a little bit of sense.
Okay.
Not to say that Arkansas is, guaranteed going 7-5, 6-6, but that makes sense. Like I think if you picked them to go 6-6, you didn't watch that game and you're like, whoa, I feel way different. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Makes sense.
Is Chris the first chatter we've ever had who's just like been honest about how he feels? He's just like, and he's like willing to change. I love this. And I'm not even joking right now. I love people that are just willing to change their mind because we have to be, right?
Have to be. Yeah. Why not? I mean, how could you, does it even make sense to have your mind made up before you ever see a team play?
It doesn't, especially when it's your team. It's like you kind of need that ability to, be talked into them going undefeated.
Yeah, exactly. Quinn is in here. Congratulations to Quinn for picking up a big win last night. He says, I'm just here to say War Eagle and Buck Fama. Well, I agree with you on the second part of that. He says, good weekend for me. Enjoy yours. We're both 1-0. That's right. Arkansas and Auburn at the top of the SEC. Who knew? With Mississippi State.
My bank account thanks your Auburn Tigers, Quinn. I always had faith in them, and we appreciate it. We talked about it this morning on the pregame. I thought Auburn looked good last night, man. I think they are a much improved team for sure.
Big Salty Hog, appreciate you for being here, buddy. He says, my guys, glad to get a win. Taylen Green looks to me like a potential next level player. Our secondary seems concerning. Where was Selman Bridges?
I don't know if Sam was asked about him after the game, but I have to almost think that he might have been injured.
Guys who I was expecting to see in the secondary, him. Did we see Scandrett?
I was gonna say I don't know if I saw Scandrett.
I saw Caleb Wooden in there.
Yeah.
And then obviously all the other guys.
Shakur Smalls played like 80 snaps, dude. He played a lot.
Smalls played a lot. He sure did. That makes me wonder if Scandrett was hurt or something.
But
I don't know.
Fair, have we heard his name?
Not really. Not really. I saw Jordan Young in there a lot. Saw Keyshawn Davila in there. We saw Jaheim Singletary rotate in at corner and get a PBU. Yeah, if somebody saw Selman Bridges, let me know. But I don't remember seeing him necessarily.
Oh, crap. Shane in the chat here is saying that Bridges played a little bit late.
Did he? Okay.
Which, and by the way, like, I think we kind of saw the writing on the wall when he didn't get listed with the first team, and we had heard that the second team defense gave up a ton of huge plays. Somebody had to give them up. And so it's like, it kind of makes sense, but it was a 3-man cornerback rotation with the ones.
Right. We've got, and we just talked about it for a few minutes there, but we appreciate the super chat. Aiden, he says, how about that onside kick? Yeah, that was wild, man. It was definitely, and maybe he was just trying to squib it or something. I don't know, but it definitely wasn't a purposeful onside kick. And I almost feel like that was like they took the knee the next play. It was almost Sam probably wanting to be like, listen, I don't want them to think that we're trying to run it up or, be dirty or anything like that because we're beating the hell out of you already. We don't need to do this with 1 second left and before halftime. But yeah, that was crazy, man.
Well, it was also
at like I've ever seen.
It was blown dead once he recovered it. So it was also at their own 34. Maybe it would have been different if they were past the 50, if they had recovered it at midfield, maybe you throw one, but it's like own 34. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. Crypto Hog says, good shit, boys. Hey, well, we appreciate that. We appreciate the super chat, man. It's big time. Thank you, brother.
Oh, that was a big one. I didn't even know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it was big time there. That's why I even threw the 4-letter word out there. This is my screen name says, we want Bama. People are talking.
I mean, listen, everybody wants Bama, apparently.
I'd play him today.
Did you see, by the way, did you see the quote of Tommy Castellanos going into the game?
Which one about like the best defense he's going to play all year is his own, or is there a different one?
Nick Saban isn't here to save them. I just don't think they have anybody that can stop me.
Oh, wow. Well,
and then he went out there and whipped their ass.
It turns out he was right. That's insane, man. Woo. Grant Patrick says Ashton no for Heisman.
By the way, I said Devin Bale had 2 punts. He had that third one late, which led to the of all Cam Shanks made 3 of the 4 worst punt return decisions on the day. He did not have the worst one though, because the worst one is the guy who fields the ball at the 1 yard line, gets tackled by our guy Ashton No at like the 4. Do not try that on Ashton No. Do not try that on Ashton No. I repeat, do not. And we said, I don't know who's listed as the gunner. It's not Tyrone Broden anymore. Doesn't matter. Ashton No is going to be the first one there. Love that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Austin from work says, I don't think Taylen Green hit that many different receivers all last year.
Okay. I want to push back slightly because in the opener last year, Arkansas completed passes to 15 different receivers. They weren't all Taylen. Some of those were 2s and 3s. When you play a bad team, you spread the ball around. Like this is not like they did not change up the scheme. They did not reinvent the wheel offensively. This does happen, And I think you can go back to every year. Like I think against Western Carolina 2 years ago, I'm sure Arkansas spread it around in that game as well.
I do like the distribution of targets, not just completing passes to a bigger number of guys, but 8 targets for Omega Blake led the way. And then you had 6 for CJ Brown. You had 4 apiece for Jaylen Brown, Raylan Sharp, and Cam Shanks. You had 3 to a running back and Mike Washington. And then it was just kind of the other guys who were out there, and it's funny to say that because like Monty Harrison came in, he had his catch there. I didn't realize it was a 29-yarder. That's good. Jaden Platt, who started, by the way, Andreas Posty, who is a touchdown machine.
Yeah, Posty, all he catches are touchdowns at the goal line. That's all he catches. Not Rohan. And Rohan, by the way, is tight end 3. And everyone asking if he played, he did play. He played as early as the first possession, but he was 3rd in that rotation for sure. But Jaden Platt made a nice grab. Like I thought it was like a behind, kind of had to readjust to it. Big target. He runs pretty well. I like Jaden Blatt.
I like him a lot. He looks the part, man. He really does. Big,
Hey, by the way,
athletic dude.
Can we confirm that this Bobby Petrino offense in Arkansas is not going to heavily feature tight ends? Can we just agree on that, though?
Yes, we can. It's only going to feature Andreas Postgame at the goal line. That's it.
And Platt will have one of those catches every game. Like, he might have 13 receptions this year, but it'll be like one per game.
Grant says Taylen's got half as many TD passes as he did all of last year. Now, so he had 15 touchdown receptions or passes total last year. And I think he had 2 in the bowl game. So wasn't he 13 touchdowns in the regular season?
Yeah.
And he had 6 in this game.
That is something, man. And by the way, he only had 2 passing touchdowns against UAPB. He had 2 passing, 2 rushing. So it's like, even in this spot, he didn't do that, which could they have just changed the play calling and given Mike Washington 3 touchdowns? Maybe, but I like it.
I think about your question when we were doing the stat projections the other day about can he get to the 30 touchdowns or whatever thrown? And we were both kind of like, nah, no way, man. Well, having a 6 touchdown game to open the season against an FCS opponent is exactly what you need to do if you're going to sniff that. So I like it.
I'll tell you this. I'll even say this because we talked about this on the stat preview show, projection show, which, by the way, if you missed that, really good stuff. Go check that out from last week. If Taylen Green's rushing totals stay the same that they have stayed for his career, which is between 500 and 700 yards and about 8 or 9 touchdowns, if he does that, I think Taylen is going to have a chance to put up a statistical season that we have never seen from an Arkansas quarterback. That is not my way of saying Taylen Green is the best quarterback in Arkansas or he's better than Ryan. I'm just saying he has a chance to put up a statistical season that we have never seen at Arkansas. He was 80 yards away from breaking the overall school yardage record in 1 year last year, and he wasn't even that great. And so it's like, I think that year, today, we kind of learned that. Like, with how dependent they're going to be on him, he could put up some crazy numbers in games against bad defenses. Let me also clarify that.
Yeah, sure. Boy, he was getting hit a lot, though.
Was getting hit a lot, which cannot continue.
And it's not
practice all week next week.
Yeah, no, seriously. And at least half of them were his own doing. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, just you get the edge, just step out of bounds, man. Like, don't take that hit. You don't have to reach out for this first down at midfield when you're up 3 scores or whatever in this game and get popped. Man, he was getting hit. So, KJ Jackson took a nasty hit too. When he threw that touchdown pass to Mike Washington, it was 2 defenders from either side and they like over-undered him. And that scared me. That's the type of injury or the type of hit that can really injure somebody, but he was fine.
Yeah, he seemed fine. I think he had so much adrenaline in that moment. One, because he was playing for, his first time playing in a big crowd like that, but he also threw his first career touchdown. And so that pain clears up. He'll feel it tomorrow, but I'm with you. I there's also, if it's 3rd and 3 against Auburn, okay, let's take the hit if we need to. All right. Yeah. You see the guy at the first down marker. Yeah. You have to take that hit. You're like scrambling against Alabama A&M and it's 38-7. Not the time to take the hit. Like, you just got to kind of know.
Was it Julian Neal that really popped that Alabama A&M, like the big hit?
Yes. That was a nice hit.
That was a nice hit. I like that. You love to see it. Lasuzo Eagle says we're going to be in a lot of shootouts in BMFP. We trust. Yeah. I don't think they probably didn't escape any shootout allegations today.
No.
But, we'll see what this Arkansas State game looks like. Are they losing to SEMO still? I don't know, but
I haven't checked. It was 7-7 last I checked. But I say, if you're going to be in a lot of shootouts, you might as well have a senior quarterback that appears to be kind of coming into his own in this offense.
Yeah. Grant Patrick says CJ Brown is greater than Isaiah Satania.
I will say this. Now, I don't know if I can co-sign this firmly, considering that they were on the same team last year and they chose not to play CJ Brown over him. At last I checked, Isaiah Satania had 2 targets, 1 reception, 0 yards through about a quarter and a half for OU. So who's to say?
Yeah, it's tough. John says Arkansas State's up 28-10 at the half. So they figured it out.
Okay, they've settled in a little bit.
Okay. All right.
I lied. Isaiah Satania now has 2 receptions for 16 yards against Illinois State. So take that with, do with that information what you will.
With Heisman hopeful and degenerate gambler John Mateer at quarterback.
Yes. It's 28-3 in the 4th quarter if you want to know how OU's doing.
Heartbroken Hog says no big TD for Mike Washington.
He did have that reception. That was a 27-yard reception.
Yeah, had the receiving touchdown. Maybe not the big, like the crazy, like he had in the scrimmage rushing plays. But again, I keep going back to that one that he just completely had broken free. And there was one guy who might have breathed on his shoestring and then he kind of got tripped up there. That one he should have housed. He was mad about it too. But outside of that, yeah, I guess he did. He'll get his though. No rushing touchdowns for Arkansas today.
0.
Yeah. Cletus says Texas L and Razorback dub. Great day to be a Hog fan. Yeah, I mean, can't
hard to
go wrong.
argue that.
Yeah. How's LSU looking? You been paying attention to that at all?
3-0 last I saw.
Okay.
Curtis, would you like to take Jeff's question here while I pull up the LSU score?
How did Singleton do today? He played, didn't he? I think
They won. They won by a huge margin.
I'm looking it up right now.
We got double Googling action. It's still 3-0 in the Clemson LSU game, by the way, end of quarter 1.
He's listed at 6'1", 235 pounds, by the way.
Boy's been eating good in West Lafayette.
That's a large man right there. Goodness gracious.
That's sturdy is what that is, man.
Yeah, I'll say. Oh, maybe they didn't play him. They beat Ball State in Barry Odom's opener there.
I saw that the starter was cooking early. I don't know what he finished with. Ryan Brown.
Malachi was 2 of 3 for 29 yards. And he had three carries for 17 yards.
Completing 67% of his passes, Curtis, almost 10 yards an attempt. And clearly you guys tried to bury him.
Dakota says, no matter what, Taylen Green is improved.
He is, but I will say this. Even in Taylen Green's lowest of lows last year, if you have a bad defense, he can tear you a new one. Like we learned that even in Taylen Green, like game 1 to game 13, if you had a bad defense, even last year's Taylen Green could tear you a new one. I'm impressed with the way he did it today, I guess I'll say. But he definitely is improved. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Heartbroken Hog. Now he's been a Mike Washington denier. And a Braylon Russell stand, but he says Mike Washington against an SEC defense is going to be interesting for sure.
Okay, again, I think people are like genuinely confusing Braylon Russell and Mike Washington.
Braylon Russell he averaged 3.7 yards per carry today.
Right, like I'm not saying Mike Washington looked like a star out there. I'm just saying like he touched the ball like 10 or 12 times, had about 100 yards. He had a good game. He just really didn't. They didn't overutilize him a ton, and he didn't break off that 90-yarder like we wanted. I think people are seeing Braylon Russell and are attributing that to Mike Washington, because I did not come away from this being like, oh, Mike Washington. I don't know if Arkansas, like, if they have a, back, like I didn't come away like concerned with what I saw from Mike Washington. He just didn't jump off the screen the way that he was supposed to, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I think
but that's what you could also say about pretty much everyone on the offense besides Omega Blake.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Cletus says defense got better as the game went on. It's the first game of the year. Defense is still working out stuff. Hogs defense played good. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I think I agree. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. The first drive alarmed a lot of people. It was funny because, Arkansas was awesome on their first drive. Taylen looked great. They marched right down there, touchdown. And I just tweeted out, first drive, easy work. And then it was like 90 seconds later, Alabama A&M had finished that drive and everybody was responding. It was like, which team are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, no, that's funny.
I guess both. I don't know. So
yeah, I just tweeted out a clip of CJ Brown catching the touchdown and was like, hey, great. And immediately everyone's like, yeah, but the defense sucks. Defense sucks, though. I'm like, all right, sorry. I'm just wanted to tweet out, his first touchdown.
James Tucker says, nice to see AB today, Anthony Black. Yeah, he looks so different without his signature hair. Yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to, doesn't it?
It does. And what's funny is he's still so young. He's like 21 years old. Like he looks still like a kid, but cool to see him out there. It was him and Ronnie Brewer that they brought out to call the Hogs. I saw D-Mac.
D-Mac was there. Yeah.
From D-Mac.
Really?
And did not be weird and like hunt him down and force him to shake my hand or anything, or try to explain who I am or anything like that. Because I feel like I'm going to cross paths with him in a real way eventually, and I don't want to have ruined my shot with him. So I played it cool. But Hillary was like, you got to go talk to him. I'm like, nah. We'll just eye each other from afar.
You did the right thing.
Yeah.
You definitely did the right thing. I'm proud of you. It's good.
Thank you.
Heartbroken Hog says, is John not joining after the press conference? I want to know how close this is to what he envisioned for our slow start. He'll tell you about
he
our
predicted
inside
the game
Arkansas
to be like
38
to 7 or something like that. 38 to 13.
Yeah, I think 38 to 13 is what John wound up picking there. And for a while it was kind of trending towards that, honestly, especially if Alabama A&M would have finished that second drive where they were kind of cooking a little bit and they got the penalties and everything and it stalled out on them. But yeah, he was what did you wind up picking, by the way?
59 to 10.
Okay, so you were real close.
We were in play there for down the stretch.
Yeah. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Let's see. We got some more super chats here. Appreciate everybody. Austin Paul says, I'd rather play Bama than Texas. Me too.
Yeah.
I think so.
Texas played a really good team today. Like, make
Texas
no mistake.
Is still going to be good. Yeah. They're still going to be good. Arch, he's getting the Bronny James allegations there, but he made some throws there late in the game, but boy, he missed some when they counted. Craziness,
so
man.
I saw this Sopranos Twitter account was tweeting stuff about, it was like a clip from Junior Soprano, and he was like, my nephew running things, not in this lifetime. And I thought about when Uncle June's like, your father never had the makings of a varsity athlete. I want to tweet that out and say Eli Manning talking about Arch.
You should. You absolutely should. Kingsley, we appreciate you, brother. He says the new number 9 better than the old number 9, and the new number 17 equals the old number 17.
Is he saying Nigel Pringle is as good as Hudson Clark, or is he saying that Jaylen Brown, who wore 17 last year? Because Broden was 5 last year. Maybe he is talking about Broden, though.
Could be.
Was there an offensive 17 last year? I'm trying to think.
I don't remember off the top.
If he is referencing Nigel Pringle played a lot in that secondary.
Yeah, I like it.
Him and Shakur Smalls played a lot.
No 17 last year on offense, so probably Broden.
You know who it was? It was CJ Brown. He wore number 17 last year, but now he's number 3.
I'm confused.
CJ Brown changed his number, but last year he used to be 17, but I bet they have him listed as number 3 just because he now is number 3.
Okay. Fair enough. Oh, yeah. Like I see what you're saying now on the roster thing. Yeah. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Crypto Hog says, who wins this LSU Clemson game? I picked LSU pregame. I have not watched a single second of this. I have no idea.
Someone in the chat said they just tied it up 3-3, which is good news. I ended up not picking LSU money line, or not betting LSU money line. I have LSU +4, so I'm cool with a slugfest defensively, which it seems like it is.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Another one from CryptoHawk. Thanks, man. Says, what was up with Arch today? I think we beat Texas now. I wouldn't get too carried away about how Texas looked on the road in week 1 against the defending national champions. That's just me. You're free to feel however you want, but I will say more than an Arch, he missed some bad like that last one there where they were trying to convert on 4th down. The one before that on 3rd down, that would have been a big play for him. He missed some throws badly, but what was more damning to me about it all was Sark very clearly doesn't trust him. Yeah. And he was conservative with his play calling, and he wasn't letting him take any chances. And that really makes you wonder exactly where that's headed over there. But make no mistake, Texas is super, super talented. Ohio State might repeat. Like they're very good. A 14-7 game there. I think their defense is probably going to be good enough to win a lot of ball games for them. Arch is going to get better. That's a hell of a first game that you have to go play, but he stunk today. There ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The thing that people need to realize with Arch is that almost every game he starts as the Texas quarterback, his team will have a substantial talent advantage. And in his 2 starts last year against ULM, against Mississippi State, they had a substantial talent advantage. He didn't get worse from the guy he was last year that tore up those teams. He just played the best defense in the country, which he won't have to face a defense this good for a while. He's going to be a work in progress, but most weeks, Texas is going to have it rolling, and Sark is going to gain some confidence in him. He'll get better, but I don't know if I'm sold on Arkansas beating Texas just yet.
Yeah, not there just yet. Long way to go
before
for
that. 300 yards against Arkansas if they played tomorrow, and that's a fact.
Yeah, Yeah, I hate to agree with that, but I do. Walmart McKenna, we appreciate you. He says, we have flaws, but I haven't seen anything from anyone else that scares me. SEC football will be like men's basketball this year, enough losses to go around. Might be something to that. Because
there's definitely something to that. The only problem is like what the top level teams like Texas and LSU and even Bama, who's not on Arkansas' schedule, what they do really doesn't mean much to me. I'm worried about what Auburn looks like, what Tennessee looks like, what Mississippi State looks like. Those are the teams that Arkansas A&M, they're playing right now, and they're playing against UTSA. It was close. Those are the teams that are going to decide Arkansas' season. Not to say that they can't beat A&M or LSU or Texas, but like that's who it's going to matter against. And some of those teams like Tennessee and Auburn looked really damn good.
Yeah, I was going to say if there are two teams that impressed me so far, it would be Tennessee and Auburn. Mississippi State's better. They're better than they were last year, but I think they're still a notch below most of the other teams in the league for sure. We'll see about LSU and Texas again. Like I'm still pretty impressed with Texas as a football team. I'm just not impressed with their quarterback. I mean, that was a tough ass game for them today. So Missouri looked like they might stink, but it's kind of hard to say. It's like the same as if you're really trying to evaluate big picture on Arkansas after this Alabama A&M game. Like they had some things where they look like they really need to clean it up, especially with their offensive line against UCA, but they still won by 60 points or whatever it was.
Right.
So, let's see. Seth Limley, appreciate you. He says, against this type of opponent, I expected more, especially with the run game and the defense, although Green looked miles above what he did last year with reading the offense and reaction in the pocket.
Yeah. I think expecting more in the run game, I'm surprised more people haven't felt that way. And Arkansas ran for damn near 200 yards, but I thought that in this type of game, Arkansas would be like dominant on the ground and then would throw the ball because they could, but like I thought they would be able to just turn around and impose their will, and they really weren't able to do that, which may just be a schematic matchup thing. Maybe they just didn't really care to do that, but I did think it was interesting.
Yeah, no, I did too for sure. And then Hayden, he says, joining very late, but have we talked about how pathetic the 50-50 payout was?
What did it end up at, like 200K?
Let me see real quick. Razorback raffle was jackpot $194,970, and the estimated prize was $97,485.
Is that a pathetic payout?
Is it just less than the other ones were? You know what I mean? But
it is less. But I will say, like Florida last year did this same thing against Miami week 1, and their payout was like $45,000.
Right. Yeah.
Now I know that a lot's changed since then. I know that, different things, but like
I know we keep it open for like the whole week or whatever, but you're going to get a bulk of it on game day, like 24 hours surrounding the game there.
Which they did. Yesterday it was at like 54K. Now
I was going to say it's based on where it was trending throughout the week. I was thinking, yeah, this is going to be really, really bad, but I think it turned out okay.
Yeah, I thought that was solid. I mean, it's not gonna be every game. They're gonna do it 5 or 6 more times. I bet the number for Notre Dame is a pretty crazy number. Although, by the way, great crowd today. Over 70K announced attendance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like 70,800 or something like that. I don't know if there were 70,000 people there, but it was easily 60K in the arena. The home sideline, like that entire lower bowl was not an empty seat in the building.
Wow. It's very cool. It looked like it really filled in there. I saw some of the media members were doing the obligatory, this many minutes before kickoff and here's the crowd. And you know what I mean?
You can't do that. I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm sure I've done it before, but it's like, it's not honest because especially on a day like today at 3:00, that sun was beaming. Me personally, I didn't go to my seat until 3:05 because I was like, I just stood in the concourse, waited in the shade. I imagine there was 20,000 people who did that. And so, yeah, you can take it 1 minute before kickoff and be like, oh, it's this. Do it 15 minutes after kickoff and show me what it looks like. Because like that's what your actual who showed up to the game looks like. It's really tough to take a picture 15 minutes before kickoff and be like, you can just assume it never filled in. I'm like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. How was the was there juice in there? What was the energy like? I guess it probably got weird for a second there early, but
a little bit. But I will say it was a very relaxed crowd, is what it was. It was relaxed. Yeah. It was not a very hostile, intense crowd.
There's no pressure.
There was a little bit of juice. There was a lot of people there, though. I will say, they played like a remixed version of War Pigs as the team was coming out.
Mhm.
It played for me.
Not
I
bad.
enjoyed it. I don't know who it was, like what version of it was, but it was very like that sounded good. They had a flyover, which was pretty cool. I thought it was like solid, but it also, you could tell that it was not a crowd that was on their pins and needles waiting to see what happened in this game. They knew what the situation was.
Dylan wants to know if you saw Paolo Samito.
No, but I also did not look for him and was not like, it wasn't, football games. It's not like you can go around and walk around. Oh, there's this guy here.
Well, if you passed him in the concourse, you would have noticed, but
yeah, well, see, that's the thing is like, but even in the concourse, I just stayed by my section. You know what I mean? Like it's such a big thing. And I didn't really look down. I was sitting pretty, not like in the rafters, but I wasn't down by the field where I could see things. I also wasn't behind Arkansas sideline, if I'm being honest.
Well, there you go. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
My final thoughts are shout out to CJ Brown and Cam Ball. I shouted them out on the pregame show as my final thoughts, but it's cool to see them wearing their father's names and cool to see both of them make big plays. Cam Ball had the first tackle for loss of the season. CJ Brown catches his first 2 touchdowns. That was the coolest thing that happened to me today, or just in general. I thought that was the coolest thing. Shout out to Omega Blake, good at football. Taylen Green, historically great performance. That we're the most ho-hum, historically great performance I've ever seen from a quarterback. But Taylen Green was awesome. We woke up this morning knowing Arkansas would be 1-0. They are 1-0, and roughly half the country cannot say that.
That's right. That's exactly right. And my final thoughts, I echo exactly what our friend William Richards here says, and we appreciate the super chat. How about them Hogs? How about them? 1-0. And now it's on to Arkansas State week.
One more final thought. We're not done talking about this football game, and we're definitely not done talking about this football team.
No.
We've got 2 more pieces of content coming out. Curtis, you want to tell them what we got going on? I mean, yes. we have, but you do it better than me.
Yeah, no, we absolutely do. We do our pregame show, and it's strategic the way that we do this. So we issue challenges to certain Razorback players that we think are going to be really important to the operation, and then we give our bold predictions. In this case, we were predicting the first play of the game, the first touchdown of the game. We did some best bets over at Saracen, but we don't just leave it at that. A lot of times you get that. People do it in the pregame shows or whatever. Then you don't hear anything else about it. We hold ourselves accountable for everything that we say. And so we run it back with our accountability session. So now that we're in the aftermath, we're going to talk about how all that stuff played out. And we've also added a fun little twist this year to where we have taken note of some of the hot takes that you guys were putting in the chat. And we're going to put some of you on blast for better or for worse. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune into that. It's going to go out early tomorrow morning and then be on the lookout a little bit later in the morning, maybe around lunchish. We'll see. We'll see when me and Andrew get around to it. But the post-game report card, and that's where we really get into the weeds. And we got the PFF grades and we got our thoughts and we got our notes and we go position by position and grade out the Hogs after every single game. It's a lot of fun. So make sure you tap into that and tap into everything we got going on. We appreciate everybody for tuning in and rocking with us here on the Inside Arkansas Football post-game show presented by our friends over at BetSaracen. We're looking forward to doing it again. Make sure you tap in with us. We'll see you guys next time. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe and be smart out there on